Today, I'm really excited to talk to my guest, Trev from Dora Factory. Dora Factory and ATOMAccelerator now hope to run 10 quadratic funding rounds over the next 24 months with a total prize pool of 100,000 Atom, 10,000 Atom each round to projects that want to build on the AEZ. Dora now turns to the Cosmos Hub community treasury to formally introduce the program to the community and scale this initiative. To that end, there was a governance proposal where basically 80,000 Atom from the community pool were allocated, plus the AA also committed to contribute 200,000 USD in Atom towards the prize pool. So, and these public goods are will be of utmost importance as the AEZ enters its parabolic growth phase with the upcoming ICS 2.0, or also known as partial set security. But before we dive into Dora Factory and AEZ public goods, welcome, Trev. How's the bull market treating you these days?
I mean, thanks for having me. It's treating me okay. The team has been busy, expanding on all of our verticals. It's been really, really awesome to see the growth that Cosmos has been having, but also all adjacent stacks and ecosystems as well. As you can hear, my voice is a little horsey today. Because we were busy on the ground at Consensus. We weren't fortunate to see all of you down there, but thanks for having me.
Yeah, sure. Very cool. Thanks. Maybe we start to talk about you first. Can you tell me a little bit about your professional background and also how did you get into crypto and finally to DoraX?
Gotcha. I mean, we need a separate episode just for all of that. So I'll keep it really short. It's been kind of a whirlwind for me. I've been in crypto since 2013. I've been a builder for the last three or 4 years. I got into it kind of by accident, which is funny. I used to run the software development arm of a med tech company that specialized in electronic health records and electronic prescription software development. Brought a product to market. With that team. It was a small startup, like 50 people, so it wasn't anything too crazy. And ended up getting dragged into crypto by accident because I joined Reddit for some reason. And for the first time, believe it or not, and wound up in a trading group and then bridging, my crypto from Coinbase and centralized exchanges into DeFi, chains with DeFi on it. And that's kind of how it got started. And the rest we'll save for another day, because again, it's a crazy story. I'll tell it to you one day. But I've been building in this for a while. I've worked on protocols like Angel Protocol. I was one of the earliest team members on that team back in the Terra days. One of their top protocols that did anything good for the ecosystem. Proved that DeFi works. And outside of that, I've been engaged across Cosmos, worked for many teams, it feels like it was kind of inevitable that I landed at DoraHacks, given the agnostic nature of it, the public goods, kind of how it's structured, and the mentality of kind of a rising tide lifts all ships kind of building mentality that I think that is really, really conducive to building great ecosystems. So I'll keep it short. I tried to keep all the fun details out of it. We'll talk another time about that, but to be at DoraX. It's an incredible team doing incredible stuff here. So thanks for having me.
For sure. And we are big fans of DoraX as well, following you guys for a long time. What is your role at DoraX actually? I'm not sure if you mentioned that.
That's a good question. So I'm engaged across the team. A lot of my focus is around the business development partnerships kind of area, but really it's well beyond that. The entire team is engaged across. So I don't know if there's a good name for it, but I'm a bit Dora hacks is the
yeah. No, that's good. We all believe, I guess. So no, that's cool. Can you explain me briefly what DoraX is actually, and what is the difference to Dora Factory? And maybe Dora Vota, even though we can also talk about Dora Vota later on, but maybe very briefly, what is the difference between those three?
Yeah, sounds good. I can give you like a 30,000 foot kind of view of the landscape, I suppose. So like you mentioned, we have Dora Factory, we have Dora Hacks, and then we also have Dora Vota. So Dora Hacks, for those of you that don't know, we're one of the one of the leaders in hackathons, developer onboarding initiatives, incentivized developer programs. And we work with most of the top chains that are out there or have worked with them in the past. We've had maybe 50, 60 million in funding come through the platform, 8,000 or 9,000 projects. So a lot of good stuff coming out of the hackathon side of things. We provide the infrastructure for all these top teams to come and run their hackathons without needing to really know how to run a hackathon. It's a lot of work. So we kind of abstract that away, and that's kind of where we got started there, right? So we have the hackathon stuff. We know what that is, and then the Dora Factory is our infrastructure arm. We also run, we run validators and secure, tons of different ecosystems. A lot of them are in Cosmos, and we're also engaged well across other ecosystems as well. And teams like Celestia, Injective, Akash. I'm not going to name all of them. We'd be here for a little bit, but it's kind of our infrastructure arm. The last one is Dora Vota, and that's our blockchain that's kind of spec'd out and built to be the home for interchain quadratic funding and voting and governance, right? So there's a lot of teams that have already used it. There's teams that are using it right now to run their quadratic funding rounds. There's also going to be a lot of cool stuff there that's kind of coming down the pipe in the realm of governance and engaging communities. So that's the 30,000 foot. We can go down into anything that makes sense, whatever you'd like to, though.
Sure. Yeah, thank you. I mean, we will be talking about Dora Vota, I think, a little bit more later. But maybe before we get into this, could you define for me or for us what is a public good actually, and how do they differentiate or differ from other goods and services?
That's a good question, and you're going to get different answers in varying colors and magnitudes into defining what a public good is. In the easiest way for me that I like to explain it is things like fire stations and police stations are kind of what public goods are in the real world. Your tax money goes to them. You don't really have a choice to fund them or not. It just kind of gets paid for by what would be an ecosystem, or in the real world's case, government, right? So public goods are applications or services that kind of, like I mentioned before, rising tide lifts all ships mentality. It lifts everybody up. It helps everybody. There's usually no cost to them, or a nominal non-extractive cost is a good way to think about it. Something that isn't there to extract as much value as possible, whereas a typical application or business that reports to like a board and those that are responsible to their stakeholders, where they have to extract as much value and report on earnings and everything like that. Public good is something built for everybody and is accessible to everybody. So in the context of Web3, we're talking about open source content, open source software, different kinds of services like that. And, use your imagination, right? Good for everybody, available to everybody without like a massive barrier to entry. That's public good.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Do you think that a public good has to be open source, or should it be open source? Like, what is it? Because in the software world, sometimes projects prefer to keep it closed source for certain reasons.
So for the purpose of this grant, they need to be open source. So let me start there. My personal opinion is that it's a weird line that we have to toe, right? My view is going to be different than other people's kind of in this arena. But if you're not being a jerk about your structure, and you aren't extracting as much value as possible from people for your own personal gain, like Dora Hacks is a good example. Not to toot our own horns too much, but I think people know that like we do a lot of stuff out there for the good of ecosystems, and we don't extract a metric ton of value more as much as we could. It's really, really important that we allow individuals to not get extracted as much from. It's for the good of all, right? So can it be closed source in software? I guess, as long as it's helping everybody. My own personal opinion is it needs to help everybody, and it can't be highly and aggressively extractive. It can be sustainable, but it can't be highly extractive. And that's up to everyone. Like, I don't have a number for that. It's more of a feeling.
Mm-hmm.
The short answer is sure, outside, if you're doing good work, I don't have a problem with that. It's the same conversation that we have with centralization and decentralization. Why do we want to fix banks? Why do we want to fix government? It's because like it's so centralized, and they make the wrong decisions for us, and they extract a lot of value, but they don't deliver a lot, right? If you were centralized and we delivered the value we said we would, nobody'd have a problem with centralized, right? If it was fair, nobody would have a problem with centralized, So the main thing is for it not to be gate capped. So if it's closed, not gate capped, isn't highly extractive. I personally don't have a problem with it. But for the purpose of this grant, open source, or plans to open source and a clear roadmap to it. As I wanted to,
No, it's a good answer, and I definitely have a similar view like you. But in the context of AEZ, those applications should be open source in order to get funding. So
yes,
that's the policy. It makes sense. Yeah, I think also it makes sense to share your code and enable others to learn, enable others to review, and so on. So there's definitely like a societal benefit from open sourcing stuff.
Yeah,
at least that's my view.
Absolutely. And to be clear, I say open source software and code bases, right? But this isn't a strictly technical grant program. Like we have the roll-up company in there as well, Andy, which those of you listening may know, is a content creator, right? Education and content is important. So it doesn't need to be technical. That's something I want to be clear about.
Okay, got it. Yeah, that makes sense. And I think we all know that Cosmos, or a lot of people say that Cosmos needs a little bit more marketing and support, like funding and of content creators and so on. So, yeah.
Yeah, we need a Cosmos BD team that works for everybody. We're getting there.
Yeah.
Centralized isn't always bad.
Right. Yeah. Okay, cool. Can you maybe very briefly also explain to us what is quadratic funding and how does it work?
Yeah, that's a good question. In typical like governance and voting fashion in Web3 and in the real world, it's like one person, one vote, which we know has its own problems. It's not all sunshine and roses, but it's also it's not the worst, right? In quadratic funding and voting, the way it works is it's progressively more expensive in a quadratic fashion to vote more. You don't vote with your Gov token raising your hand. You vote with contributions. So if you put in $1 of a token, let's call that one vote. In order for it to be counted as two votes, this is the progressive cost aspect of this. In order to do two votes, that's now $4. I mean, my camera's over here. $4, right? So the idea behind this is it becomes more fair for the individuals who aren't whales, while also not completely disenfranchising whales, right? Like a whale can't come in and move the entire vote and like not have to answer to individual voters that are only contributing a few dollars here or there, right? So it's progressively more expensive for them. And we also have the other side of this is anti-Sybil mechanisms built into this. So we have an anti-Sybil check, so also avoid, let's say, a large whale distributing their tokens to multiple wallets and trying to avoid getting hammered via that progressive increase in voting cost. So it's cost-based and progressive in nature.
Can you maybe elaborate a little bit more? Why do we need this protection against whales? Like, what is the problem with one whale funding a whole project?
I mean, the problem with one whale, so they're not just funding their project, they're also, this is a good point that you're bringing up. In quadratic funding, we do matching pools. That means the team that, let's say, so each round, we'll go to the round so that, for context for everybody. I'm going to round it up to $1 million. It's not quite there because Adam took a hit. Roughly $1 million over 10 different, yeah, I know, right? Roughly $1 million over 10 rounds over the next 2 years, about every 2.5 months, there'll be a round. Let's call it $100,000 in a round, just for the sake of my brain and everybody else's brain. Will make it easy. $100,000, if there were 10 projects, each would start off with an allocation of, 10,000, for example, evenly distributed. And as more votes and contributions come in, it would be weighted. The matching pool would be weighted based on the votes to these individual projects. So it's not only that they're receiving the capital that's getting donated, they're also receiving a proportion of the matching pool, which is of that $100,000. So we don't want a whale to come in and completely move the vote to one side and to just decide where all that money goes. It's for the community, right? Mm-hmm. So whale doesn't necessarily represent the entire community. It's good for signaling intensity of voting, while also allowing for the individual voices to be heard. So it's a good way to decentralize that a little bit.
Right. So maybe to look at it from a different perspective, it enables basically smaller token holders to vote for something, and it gives them more voting power, or more decision power. Could you say that or no?
I don't know if saying it gives them more voting power. Everybody, it levels the playing field a little bit more. It makes it
equalizes. It equalizes, right?
Yeah, much closer than one token, one vote. Or vote for with as many tokens as you want, and no quadratic. It's a way to make it fair, while also including everybody. It's really, really important stuff. At least I think so.
Got it. Okay, then that makes sense. All right. Yeah, cool. Then maybe we can talk a little bit about the AEZ and you already had a quadratic funding round on the AEZ a while ago. Can you maybe tell us a little bit how that went? And this was like a pilot thing, I guess, right? What you did there.
Right. That absolutely. People think that it's like that we're hosting the first round. We're technically hosting the first round of the QF for the AEZ outside of the initial round. Technically, it's the second round. Technically, we did run our first one. Just we've done it QF for like Injective and Archway. We've been developing this platform for a while just to make sure everything works well. And we ran a test case for the AEZ just to kind of prove not only that it works, but also to show more conviction before we put this proposal up. We put up 50,000 of our own 50,000. I'm rounding up because there was an Atom. 5,000 Atom. Let's make it easy for ourselves. 5,000 Atom up, and we got 8 or 9 projects in. A lot of good submissions. I've had some stuff in there. The abstract guys got some stuff in there. Serta from it was in there. And Mr. T from Mark. I guess I don't need to name them all, but there were a lot of good teams that stuff that have been building for this general cosmos, and it was really cool to see the not just the engagement from their end, but also the engagement from the community side. I think about 10,000. I want to say about 10,000 was contributed, so somewhere in that ballpark. Don't quote me on that number. A decent amount of community money was put in, and it helped allocate the matching pool to the teams that had the most traction. But everybody got a piece, and it was really neat to see it in action. And then we said, you know what, this works. We've done it, so many times before this. We have to continue being part of this Cosmos AEZ narrative, and to continue churning out good projects. How do we do that besides hackathons, besides the ecosystem engagement stuff we already do? This was kind of the next step, and kind of an obvious one from our end. So Jazz, the prop passed with 91 and some odd percent voting yes, which is that's insane. I mean, you
guys get it down.
Well, also that's insane, with over half of everybody reporting, I think, which is also insane. But you guys did vote for us, and so again, I mentioned you before. Thank you for the support. We couldn't have done it without you and the rest of the incredible teams and Cosmos behind us as well. So.
Yeah, sure. I mean, definitely. As I said, we have been following you for quite a while. We are impressed with what you guys do with all the products and so on, with Dora Hacks, obviously. So for us, it was almost like an obvious yes. And we would love to see the Cosmos Hub or also the broader AZ Cosmos to succeed. And I think like quadratic funding, or generally public goods funding, is something that is more or less missing in the Cosmos, in my opinion. There's an ICF that is funding a little bit, and but overall, yeah, we don't have as much public goods funding as like Ethereum, for example.
Yeah, I mean, we're just getting started. The ecosystem has a lot of good tech, and I think we're just now over the last couple of years kind of pulling all the people together. It used to be siloed, a lot of PvP. I mean, there's still PvP stuff, but it's the ecosystem is much closer together, and because of that, we're seeing a lot more collaboration rather than competition. A little less ego. We could use a lot less, but a lot less ego as well, because that stops that prevents innovation from just happening. So, yeah, jazz to be able to do this.
And where did you start with the quadratic funding? Was it outside of the Cosmos ecosystem initially, or in Cosmos or on Ethereum?
So, I mean, we're the first ones to do it out here in Cosmos, but quadratic funding, it's been around for a while. Practical application of it for public goods in Cosmos, we're obviously the first ones. But it's not a new concept. The application of it here is, yeah.
Got it. All right, maybe we can talk a little bit about Dora Vota in this context, because you're building this would say governance / quadratic funding solution, which is a chain from my understanding. Yeah, maybe I will let you speak. Can you tell us what Dora Vota is and what is it solving basically?
I mean, it's for voting. The short and simple of it is it's there to facilitate governance mechanisms like quadratic funding and voting, which are imperative to like funding grants or projects the way in which we're kind of demonstrating now and have in the past, right? So the short answer of it is it facilitates QF and governance related activities. We also are building and have built anti-collusion infrastructure called MACI, minimum anti-collusion infrastructure, and also a different kind of technology called AMACI, which some teams are adopting out there right now, specifically for voting, which is anonymous, basically anonymous voting using ZK. So we know we vote, we know how much people vote, we know which wallets vote, because everything's on chain. But anonymity is also really, really important when we talk about preventing collusion from happening and other things. But I don't really want to talk too much on that. That's basically what it is. It's a governance. It's for everybody. If you're connected via IBC, and you believe governance is important or anti-collusion governance is important, this is, talk to us. We'll help you out.
Yeah, definitely. And I guess like quadratic funding is just one of the applications for Dora Vota. So as you mentioned, there are many other governance situations where it could be used. Got it. Very cool. And what else do we have to talk? How do you think will the AZ benefit from quadratic funding in the short and versus long term?
I think that's an interesting question, because a lot of people, like I talked to Aaron from Osmosis, we had a good conversation, and several other people that are building in our ecosystem, and grants are kind of a broken system that nobody really wants to talk about. I don't think too many have gotten it right. We've had it done well in the past by a few teams. I think we've seen some good results so far with this one, because our agnostic nature. This is going to be a little bit of kind of background and around this. We're agnostic in nature. Like, we're not like maxis of a single chain. We believe in lifting everybody up and serving as a support infrastructure, right? So that's one thing that I think kind of separates us from other grant initiatives out there. When teams grant out, they grant for their ecosystem typically, right? We're granting for the benefit of everybody because of the foundation of Cosmos, the foundational layer of Cosmos, right? And the AEs, it helps everybody, right? That's number one. And I want to touch on some other points here first. And another thing is like, we're not taking any of this money and we're not parking it anywhere, if that makes sense. All going to teams 100%. We're eating it on the marketing costs and the operational costs, my cost, right? For, allocating me to this. I'm putting a lot of effort into this. We're not taking anything from it. It's for the good of cause, for the good of all. So that's something that I think should be noted. And because of that, we're really looking at the teams that are kind of doing the same things. The ones going back to what is what are public goods. There are teams like I think the most impacts that I've seen are Andy and his content. You see it everywhere. Mr. T ARC protocol that got used in that the lab or mad scientist launch, which is really interesting. They found a way to launch NFTs, but like they figured out how to also stop bots and anti-Sybil because of how they launched. Mr. T and his team at ARC facilitated the ICS 721 transferring. Like it's already being used. Right? So that's, in the past, teams grant out or ecosystems grant out to teams and they never either make it to market because they're pre-product or pre-MVP, whatever you want to call it, pre-functionality, or if they launch, they don't do anything and nobody uses it. So we have Mr. T already with ARC being used, Certer, interchain accounts controller that Zion is using, and Jackal is using for their outposts. Like it's there's stuff already being used, and I think that's kind of also what's kind of different here. We're not getting projects that aren't launched or not almost built. These are teams that have a proven track record of doing good things, or are about to or are doing now good things for these ecosystems collectively. And we're trying to help them stay afloat as they either find a sustainable business model, or here's another one. They raise money. You don't have to be anti-revenue or I guess for this one you're not really generating revenue if you make it into this round, right? You kind of pre in that nature. But
yeah, interesting, very interesting. So you think that public goods projects, let's say, or solutions can also have revenue streams, or maybe should even have some sort of.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of like a hot button issue, and people are going to disagree with me or team or whatever position. But for this, I'll speak on two sides of things like I did earlier. Specifically for this, you shouldn't be generating like a bunch of revenue. You shouldn't have raised. I mean, we can go to the qualifications. Raising a ton of money, you can't have raised more than $1.5 million, so 1.5 million. If you're above that, you're not in this. Or you can apply it, we just can't let you in. If you're generating a ton of revenue, that doesn't really work as well. But on the other side of things, public goods grants funding isn't always sustainable, and it doesn't always last forever. We have a 2-year mandate based on everything that we talked about here to distribute. But what happens after that? Eventually, we have to have the conversation of sustainability of this program, if it ends up being that. And on the other side is these teams shouldn't just be banking on this will be around in 3 years, right? After those 2 years, right? So thinking about sustainability, very, very important. And if these teams are, they're good teams with good people building public goods, the odds are they're not going to be highly extractive either if they monetize it in any way, shape, or form. I think that we have projects like Abstract and Fairblock that are raising money and have honestly they're leaving the program because they raise money and we'll call them graduating from the program, and benefit from a round of this already. But the idea is that they graduate. I think that they don't become like they shouldn't be whether they live or die, I suppose is the best way to look at it. They should find a way to be sustainable. And we're also open to helping them do that. So if we want to support them the best we can. So I'll stop talking now.
No, It makes a lot of sense. And it's quite impressive that from the first sort of pilot round, let's say, you already have successful public goods, that other projects and people are using. And like, just imagine what this program now will enable over the next 1 or 2 years. So,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, short term, we've seen it. We've seen the results. So your actual question was short term and long term. Short term looks good. Long term, I hope it's better. I hope to see even more projects. Because there's no way these are all the public goods builders that are out there. I think that if you think anybody listening to this that's builds altruistically and isn't to like be maximally extractive, and you believe you just want to build cool stuff that everybody uses, but you also want to be able to put food on the table. Those are the kinds of people that build public goods. If you haven't built anything yet, you have an idea, get going on it. This is important too. These are rolling rounds. If you get into the first round, you're also in the second round, in the third round, in the fourth round, in the fifth round. You don't need to reapply, but also we open applications every 2.5 months. One of these rounds opens. So who cares if 1 or 2 rounds are gone already? If it takes you like a couple months to put something together, pre-MVP, and you want to apply, reach out, apply. Let me know you're working on it too. If there's anything that the team or I could do, let's get you guys in, because we need more people. We need more firepower in Cosmos. I think that's
Yeah, definitely. Interesting. I mean, like we Stakecito as a validator, we're sort of content focused. So we like Cryptocito does a lot of content now. Stakecito also does content for a year now. So we sort of finance ourselves through the validator operations, obviously, but like just thinking about independent content creators that come outside of Cosmos into Cosmos, giving them maybe a platform or chance to get funded if they have some experience already, maybe some following already. This would be cool to see, apart from all the technical solutions that you can build with the Cosmos. But can you maybe explain a little bit or talk a little bit about the application process? So how do you get people onto the funding round or into the program?
Sure. I mean, it's really simple. It's dorahacks.io/AEZ Atom Economic Zone. Super simple. We made it super easy for you. You can go there. You can submit your builds there. You can contribute from there when it opens, which it's already open right now. You can vote and you can contribute for the team that you're interested in seeing. This matching pool going to them show out. They should also be reaching out to their communities as well, because that's part of it. You need to let people know. So submit your builds there, contribute there. There's a leaderboard there. You can also see from the previous round how that went, how much went in, where the money went, who got it. And these teams will be doing updates regularly. I mean, they should be doing updates regularly about their progress. And part of what goes on our side is we are also doing our own diligence in between each round to make sure these teams are still building, right? So these teams are committing to utilize this funding to advance or perform upkeep for these public goods that they've already built or are building. So that's another thing. And I think the last part of it is we're adding a community. We'll call it policing isn't the right word, but I guess it's a close thing. Community kind of policing or reporting. If you see any of these teams that are in here doing anything that's shady or goes against the program or anything like that, we do have an avenue for you to help engage there in our own due diligence. We can't see everything. We do our best. So definitely check that. We'll be there as well. And also bear with us. We're just getting this started. If you have suggestions, reach out with those as well. This is for the community. It's not for us. It's for everyone here. So reach out, be a stranger.
Definitely. So it's already live. People can already apply, right? And how or when is the funding allocated, or when is like a round? When is a round closing and the next one opening? Like, what does it work?
Sure. So the way this works is the funding gets distributed after after the 2.5 month period, total 2.5 month period. So that's not the exact number, I suppose. So there's an application process. The builds get approved based on all the due diligence and criteria we talked about. Then the voting starts, and then at the end of it, they get the funding. So there's a pretty long window between the application process and when they get the money. And if the team hasn't delivered or has stopped building, they don't get the money. So it's after they've already delivered effectively on what they said they were going to do. That being said, like, if you get 80% of the way to what you said you were going to do, I'm kind of okay with that. It's we want to make sure the money is going and being used for what people are saying that they're using it for, because it's for the community, right? And that's on the other side as well, right? So the community can report if things are not going as has been reported. So 2.5 months is each total window. 2.4 months. Yeah. 74 days.
Okay.
4 days.
Okay. Got it. Cool. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think I don't have any further questions from my end. Is there anything that you maybe want to let the Stakecito and Cosmos community know? Something that they should keep in mind about this program?
Sure. Yeah. So the applications are always open. You can always apply. You can always apply. You can always update your build. So if you're planning on applying to a later round, like, don't be afraid, right? Also, like, talk to your community. This is kind of my plea to all ecosystems listening. Reach out to your communities and talk to them. We're doing our own outreach. We're shouting about it from the rooftops. All of our teammates are. We're shouting about it on the ground at Consensus. Like, it's not free money, but like, you got to deliver on stuff, but like, it's here to be used for the benefit of all. Like, if you're building some cool stuff, you aren't maximally extractive, you haven't raised $1.5 million or more, and that includes grants, by the way. And you think you fit the bill on this, reach out, apply if you have questions, comments, whatever. Community members, if you have any kind of issues or suggestions, reporting, reach out or submit as well. Tell your friends, tell your community, like, we have some money to give away or to grant out. Let's get the best projects in your neighborhood, your ecosystem that you guys have to be aware of submitted to this. These are the teams that a lot of them do stuff for free, completely for free. A lot of them are they're always trying to figure out, like, how do I monetize this really cool thing that I'm doing? Everybody uses it, but I don't even know how to ask for money. And I'm talking to you guys directly out there. I know you guys are listening out there somewhere. You're trying to figure out how to monetize it, but you don't want to monetize it maybe, and haven't figured out how to become sustainable. That's a lot of us. A lot of people in the community, altruistically for everybody. I'm describing this profile because you know who they are and they know who I'm talking. Whoever listening that knows this or feels this way, you know who that is.
Yeah.
It's you.
Yeah, definitely.
So apply, reach out. This is an avenue for this, and you don't need to build for a specific ecosystem, or except for the general, the atom economics are in Cosmos, right? So think about it, apply, tell your friends, and also tell that person, whoever that is, or team, to come and apply as well if it's a team, because we can't do this by ourselves. So it's my plea to you guys: tweet about it, tweet, yell about it. It's helpful for everybody. I feel like I'm beating a dead horse, but it's helpful for everybody. Do everything you can. It takes no energy to like and retweet something. It takes no energy to support teams like Stakecito. That you guys are great. And outside of the validator stuff, I don't know how you guys make money outside of it, but you guys are Republic good on the too, delivering a lot of value. So yeah. So appreciate the time. Tell your community, everybody.
Right. No, I mean, and definitely, I hope we will do our part now also with this interview, and like, reshare it and try to get our community and our projects involved. So yeah, I do have maybe one last follow-up question before we end this. Did you are you aware of the Yield Mosque project?
They shut
Yield
down.
loss.
I liked their team. I liked what they had, and I was using it, but they shut down.
Same, yeah.
What?
Mm-hmm.
God, that was disappointing. We all liked that.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's why I'm asking, because I really had to think a lot about yield loss recently. I was using them since day one. You know,
Yeah.
they made like this obviously restaking super simple. And I actually remember them talking about, hey, maybe we should like turn on a fee, you know, for like small commission or something. And this never happened, I think. And then they announced to shut down. And do you see something like yield loss is a public good? Do you maybe have an opinion? Could like a project like YieldMoss, could they maybe apply at this program, or is that
So
too broad?
I'll just run through the hard guidelines here. I think that like I'm a big fan, so I won't speak out of turn on this. I'll speak as Dora Hacks. This is the eligibility criteria, so we can lock it in. This is what the requirements are. You cannot have raised more than $1.5 million.
Mm-hmm.
That includes venture. That includes grants, external funding. It shouldn't be highly commercialized or have tokens listed everywhere, and you're making money that way, right? It needs to be focused and built to contribute to the AEC and Cosmos. And there are no restrictions on what you're building. It can be content, it can be tech. Does YieldMost
Right.
that category? I don't know. If they do, they should apply.
No, that's a fair answer. And again, in my view, YieldMoss was actually public goods. And as you said, a lot of people were using them, and it's quite unfortunate that they shut down. But yeah, maybe if they listen to this, maybe they can at least give it a shot, and then we'll see. How.
Yeah, I mean, I'll reach out to them after this, because I don't know if I don't think they had a token, and I don't think they. I don't.
No, yeah, I think all the criteria that you mentioned would fit. I mean, it's like no fundraising, no token, as far as I know. In terms of AAZ, I mean, yeah, a lot of people like definitely the Cosmos ecosystem. A lot of like chains were listed there, right, including Cosmos Hub and so on. So, yeah, but yeah, then good to know the criteria. I think that's pretty clear now. All right, awesome. Then thanks, Trev, for your time. I think this was a really insightful and really cool interview. I will definitely check out how the funding rounds are going, and we'll also try to research it a little bit more. So, how can people find you on the socials?
Yeah, so you can find me. I put my Telegram handle to make it easy to contact in the. I don't know if you can see it because it doesn't come up all the way online.
Yeah.
It's kind of cut off, right? So Telegram for me, is twice in a blue moon, and I'm sure we'll post it with this as well. And then my Twitter is the same thing, but without the E in blue. So twice in a blue moon, both twice in a blue moon, one with no E in blue for Twitter. And then you can also find us at Dora Hacks. Our website is dorahacks.io. For this, dorahacks.io/AEC. That's where you can submit. That's where you can check all the criteria. That's where you can see the leaderboard and engage through that avenue as well for community-related engagement, like reporting. And then for Twitter, you can check us out at Dora Hacks as well. Dora Hacks, Dora Factory. Yeah, that's kind of about it.
Yeah, thanks, man. We will also leave all the links in the description below. So yeah, thanks again for your time, Trev. Really appreciate that. Maybe we can do it at some point again and see how everything went. How the program went, how many projects, what kind of projects out there. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Whenever you guys want to talk about this for your community, whenever you think would be beneficial, we're always here to talk about this or anything else that you think we might have some insight on that would help you guys out. So thanks for having us.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks, man. All right. Have a good day.
All right. See ya.
Cheers.